appear in the recording, just let me know and we will obliterate you. You know, if any of you are skiving and you know you should be doing something else and you don't want to be, you know, put out on YouTube or whatever, that's not a problem. So I'm Daniel Bennett. My business is DNA Business Development, and I work with ambitious businesses in the agricultural sector, helping them to become more profitable by helping them finding and securing the right customers for them. And I'm based in Cheshire, although today I'm actually in Cockermouth in Cumbria, and I work from Aberdeen to Hampshire currently. So today we're going to be talking about the incredibly important subject of communication. And the goal is to sharpen your messaging so it cuts through the noise and resonates with your farming audience. Now, what I do like to do is I know that we're all sort of trying to hide behind cameras and multitask, but I really great if people would just very briefly introduce who they are, where they're from, and just what you do. Just keep it very succinct, if you will. So yeah, if we can go around the room. So in the order I've got you on screen, Daniel, you go first.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Yeah, so I'm Daniel, and I'm from a business called Opal Commercial. We provide, essentially, we're a broker for agricultural and commercial finance. The thing that attracted me to this today was exactly that, cutting through the noise. Competition's fierce. We know the agricultural industry like to go direct to banks. So really, I'm trying to show that using a broker is valuable. But yeah, it'd be great to cut through that noise.
All right, thanks, Daniel. And Ferry, you're next, if you want to jump back in.
I do, yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Ferry van Echtels, I'm the founder of Making Ventures Work. I bridge basically tech ventures who are doing something useful for farmers and for food security and for climate change and all those wonderful objectives, and helping them to scale and get access to their end customers. So today's webinar is extremely important, Daniel, so thank you for hosting that. Yeah, so I'm representing a number of companies that have wonderful solutions to help farmers, and that's it.
Ferry, thank you so much. I just need to manage your expectation. You know, hopefully it will deliver some value, but hey, I don't call myself an expert. I like to think I'm still learning like everybody else. Peter,
Peter, I'm basically in language education, but I'm sort of part of the agricultural community in the Belgrade region, the South Carpathian Basin, if that means anything, Danube. So I'm just here because it's what technology can do for people I know in farming, I guess, broadly speaking. And
yeah. Well, it was great to catch up earlier in the week, Peter.
Yeah, it was great, yeah.
Or last week, I can't remember.
It was last week, wasn't it? It was good.
Okay. Phil. Are you there, Phil? Oh, you're breaking up a bit, Phil.
Good morning.
Morning, Phil. There seems to be a connection. Oh.
Maybe switch the video off. The sound would have been.
Yeah, Phil. We're not getting a good connection, Phil. We can't hear you. Sorry, I'll just interrupt then. So Phil runs a company which is involved in biologicals for plant growth. Lived at Grenstead. Sorry, Phil, we're not hearing you.
I don't have the head.
Okay. Oh, we'll come back to you in a minute, Phil. So who else we've got? Eamon, are you there? Can you just say who you are and where you come from? Right, come back to you in a second. Ben, are you there?
I am.
Hello, Ben.
Yeah, my name is Ben Gillingham. I manage a company called Terra Prima. We make environmental sensors focused on farmers, particularly the horticulture sector. So yeah, it's a busy sector. As Daniel said, there's lots of competition for us as well. And so yeah, we're interested in. Yeah, I'm here to pick up any tips I can on how to help raise awareness. We're a new company, so that's always a challenge.
Great stuff. Thanks, Ben. Good to see you. Now we've got 3 Daniels. This is going to get complicated. So and I'm not sure I can pronounce your surname. Daniel Turkill?
Something like that. I can pronounce it myself, so don't worry about it.
Nice to meet you. Where are you from, Daniel?
So the company is called Solly College Laboratory. It's got a couple of other names we use for different people, but basically we work with farmers and we develop a microbiological product that is very diverse, and farmers can simply start using that if they're going regenerative.
Great stuff. Okay. Well, good to see you here. So we're not going to ask the AI bot who he is. Chi, Chi, do you want to just say who you are and what you do?
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Daniel's executive, just here to make sure everything runs smoothly and everybody has a great meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Chi. So I think we missed a couple because of technological problems, but shout if you want to just say anything. So today we're going to be talking about an incredibly important subject of communication. The goal is to sharpen your message so it cuts through that noise. And I'm glad to say here that some of you are saying, well, I'm saying not glad, but you're saying that that's one of your challenges. So let's see if we can help you. So you are here today to solve a problem, and that might be a specific challenge you're facing. It might be to enhance your learning and understanding. And today I'm going to show you some of what I do to help grow agri-businesses by finding and securing customers for them. And if that's something you'd like help with, a bit later I'll explain how we can make that work together. But so there are so many facets to finding and securing customers. And today we're going to focus on the need to ensure that our message cuts through that noise to resonate with farmers. At the last Agritech Marketing Mastermind, we explored the journey from innovation to implementation. And we concluded that innovation is not about creating a seemingly amazing product or process and then trying to flog it to farmers. Firstly, and most importantly, we need to really understand what problems farmers are facing and the challenges they face. And then we need to ask them questions like, what do you hate most? What costs you most money? Where's the most waste? What's the hardest task you do? And only then can we innovate with their answers ringing in our ears. However, even with the best research and most innovative solution, we still need to engage farmers, and that's often easier said than done. And I guess that's why we're here. If we truly, and I mean truly and utterly, believe that we can help farmers through the adoption of agri-tech solutions, do we not have a responsibility to share this with them and help them make a decision? Of course, that sounds a bit like something. I'm really glad we've got a few sort of European friends here as well. But here in Britain, in the UK, selling is often perceived to be a bit of a dirty word. And that's a perception. And certainly British culture tends to think of selling being crass and manipulative. Personally, I see selling as serving. You're serving if it's in the best interest of your customer. I don't think you have any right to sell something to the wrong person, but you do have a responsibility to help the right people and to me, that is serving, which is selling. So to set the scene, and I apologize if you've heard my soapbox bit before, but I always believe it's worth iterating on why we're here. To me, agriculture, and Daniel, you're in horticulture, to me, we're all about food production. That's the important bit. And it's the most important industry in the world. And yet, without getting too political, it seems many of the wealthier governments around the world are deprioritizing the sector. According to the United Nations, each day, 25,000 people die around the world, including more than 10,000 children, from hunger and related causes. That's shocking. Some 854 million people worldwide are estimated to be undernourished, and increasing food prices may drive another 100 million people into poverty and hunger. So farmers everywhere have a very important role to play, even if in the shorter term, we're being forced through financial pressures to accept non-food producing schemes. And it's clear that to drive improvement and efficiencies in farming and agri-tech, to improve efficiencies in farming, agri-tech has a massive part to play in this. Now, it's unlikely a single agri-tech solution is going to revolutionize food production. More likely, it will move the needle by 1 degree. But multiple innovations, each shifting the needle by 1 degree, has a powerful compound effect. And innovation is mostly about marginal gains. So of course, the challenge here is farmers don't know what they don't know, and if that makes sense. So, how can we firstly make them aware of innovations and then help them to understand how they beneficially impact them? And that's what we're talking about today, messaging. And so I've told this story before, but if you ask farmers in the 1880s what would help them plough more land, they would have probably said more horses. A set of horses could plough an acre per day. They had no concept back then, 100 years later, a tractor would be able to plough an acre in about 20 minutes. But as Martin Beardsill pointed out a couple of masterminds ago, back in the 1800s, farmers couldn't imagine not ploughing. And ploughing is now not something considered essential because we have direct drilling and minimal cultivation techniques. And of course, the other thing is land's not ploughed now because we've been told to plant bird seed mixes on it and such like. Dread the thought. Anyway, so that's why it's important to fully understand farmers' needs, pain points, and motivations. Understanding this means we are in the best possible position to help them. So very quick overview of the event. The concept behind the Agritech Marketing Mastermind is to share ideas. Let's get creative, explore what's worked and not worked for ourselves. This is an interactive session. I have a reputation for bullying people to contribute. I don't really apologize for that. So if you're not in your pajamas, please be great to have your cameras on. But we're keeping this informal. It's not about me doing death by PowerPoint. Actually, I'm going to break my rule once today, so I have got one slide. But this is not about me lecturing you. And in the group, we've got a wide range of marketing and agriculture experience and knowledge, but we're all students and we're all teachers. You could argue that the true test of learning something is being able to teach it to others. So I hope we can all help each other. It's possible you might perceive you've got a competitor in the room. How much more powerful is collaboration than competition? So the concept is to introduce an Agritech Marketing Mastermind topic each session. And we'll have a short talk about it. And it's been from me mostly, but I'm very happy for other people if they've got a subject they'd like to introduce. I'm very happy for them to say, Dan, can I have a bit of time? Then we open the floor to everyone to share maybe you've got a challenge or a stretch. Daniel, you've already sort of said, how do you get your head above the noise? Maybe that's something we can explore a bit later on. The reality is you're as likely to learn hearing other people's challenges as you are sharing your own. And of course, any ideas to improve this mastermind are very welcome. After all, feedback is the breakfast of champions. I believe in keeping to time, as I've already said. We will finish at 10:45. I will hang around a little bit at the end if anybody's got any further questions, but please, at 10:45, I know you're busy, go. You might be wondering what gives me the right to talk about marketing and growing businesses in the agri sector. Very briefly, all I ever wanted to be was a farmer. At the age of 9, I fell in love with farming and I knew my path and I went to agricultural college for 3 very, very happy years. I then drove big green tractors with yellow wheels for a number of years. But back in 1989, I know I don't look old enough, I was persuaded by my fiancée that farming wasn't going to provide the lifestyle expected of me. So she was a graphic designer. Very naively, we set up a design and marketing business. So I very quickly had to learn about customers and business and marketing and sales, and did that for a long time until 2016, when fortunately she decided not to be married to me any longer. So I decided it was time to go and live my dream. So I actually went to work on a farm on the Isle of Man, and then went to New Zealand as an agricultural spraying operator. On my return, whilst I worked on a farm in the UK for a short while, I've forgotten how cold and wet it is in the winters here, and I realised I could blend my experience with business with my love for farming and food production. So I bring all that knowledge into what I do now, and love doing it. So, in that time when I was design marketing, we worked for some quite technical type businesses, things like design and manufacture of bend restrictors for towing oil rigs into place, things like LED lighting solutions, all types of clients over a sort of 26-year period. So today is about sharpening your message, cutting through the noise to resonate with farmers. And first thing, we've got to know who our audience is, know your farmer. Farmers are diverse, but they share common values. They value practicality, reliability, and they want results. Often straight talking and to the point. A spade is a spade. They're experts in their field, and they respect those who respect their knowledge. And of course, farmers have to be a bit of everything, don't they? From animal experts through to machinery operators, mechanics, agronomists. It's such a broad range of knowledge required. We need to speak their language and understand their world and build trust. And farmers are probably the best bullshit detectors there are. So don't do it. However, and sorry, because I'm a bit of a farmer, my language slips occasionally. Apologies for that. However, there are a broad range of farming personas, and as from the traditionalists right the way through to those who are highly progressive and technology driven. I mean, we should recognise where our customer avatar sits within the technology adoption curve. We talk about the curve. We start with innovators, and we then get into early adopters. We then get into the early majority. And then we start to go over the hump into late majority, and then at the end of the tail, the laggards. And because we're in the agri-tech sector or the tech sector, it's likely our audience is going to be more of the innovators and early adopters and probably the early majority as well. So be clear what your customer avatar is. If you try to speak to everyone, it's likely no one's going to hear you. So let's be clear who we're talking to, and let's make sure, firstly, our message is really with them in mind. And we should recognise, however strong and well-crafted our message is, farmers are bombarded with information daily, whether that's through traditional media, personal connections, and of course, social media. And to cap it all off, farmers face the daily challenges of market pricing fluctuations, that's whether they're buying or selling, and of course the weather. So we're going to have to work really hard to capture that bit of space in their minds if we're going to progress a relationship. And it's probably appropriate to mention marketing channel, mention the channels as well. Is our message more important than the communication channel we use, or vice versa? The reality is one doesn't work without the other. The right message in the wrong place is no better or worse than the wrong message in the right place. You do need to be where your audience are, for sure. And then once you're in the right place, you can start to then look at how you refine your messaging. Excuse me. So let's have a little think about crafting your message. We're told that moving away from pain is something like 75% more motivational than moving towards pleasure. So, using the answer to our previous questions, what do you hate most? What costs most money? Where's the most waste? What is the hardest task? These are the pain points, or this is what's going to highlight the pain points that our farmers are suffering from. So, I mean, highlighting a pain point and showing how you can move farmers away from it by aligning your solution to their problem will have a bigger impact than simply saying how wonderful you are. Now, perceptions are reality. I mean, you might be wondering what the bleeding heck I'm going on about now. How you think you're perceived and how you'd like to be perceived and how you are perceived, I think are three very different things. And it's very easy for each of us to portray our perceptions onto our audience, and for their perception to be something quite different to how we see it, especially when we really haven't understood their challenges and problems. We all look at things from a different perspective, and just very quickly share a slide with you. I'm sure you've all seen this sort of thing before. The quick, assume you can all see it. What do you see? Maybe have a little wave if you can see an old woman. Wave your hand, or if you can see a young girl. So what we're saying is we all look at things very differently, and there are two distinct images there. Maybe can anyone see both of them? But so the message is you've got to look from your audience's perspective. No, just stop sharing. So with the right perspective in mind, we know farmers don't like to be sold to, but they do need to buy. Do farmers buy logically or emotionally? Should you have a quick vote? Put your hand up if you think they buy logically. Show me your hand. What about if you think they buy emotionally? Does anybody sort of think the emotions come before the logic? Was that a yes, Daniel? Was that like that was a halfway house, I think, wasn't it? I think, and as I've said earlier, I'm not an expert. I mean, experts suggest that I know everything, and heck, I don't know everything. I'd like to think I'm a specialist, but I'm constantly learning. But I sort of think that the reality is emotions are a stronger motivator than logic. But what we try to do is, having made an emotional decision, is then we try to justify it with logic. Think about any purchase you've made. A few agri-tech marketing masterminds ago, we looked at the example of John Deere. Here in the UK, despite being perceived as the most expensive maker of tractor to buy, they are the single biggest selling brand of tractor in the UK with 30% of the market. You can compare this to other brands like Case New Holland. They have 26%, but that's shared between their two brands of Case and New Holland. And then people like Agco have 22%, and that's made up of Massey Ferguson, Vulture, and Fendt. So this is despite John Deere being the most expensive. And much of the foundations of building John Deere's brand took place in the 1980s and 1990s, when John Deere made their machines aspirational to operate, especially to younger people. They were securing that space in the hearts and minds of its audience. And that played a significant role in their $61 billion revenue in 2023. So when a farmer buys a new John Deere tractor, is that decision really because of fuel economy, the servicing interval, the Green Star technology, or is it the cab they like to sit in most? The cab is what makes them feel better. People will forget what you say. People will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you make them feel. So with our messaging, this is about the emotional feeling, and how can we get people to really take you to heart. And that sort of leads us on to another Danism, a cliche: facts tell, stories sell. Use stories to get your message across. And I sort of shared my story a bit earlier about how I started in farming and ran a design and marketing business. Stories are really powerful, and many marketeers will tell you to focus on benefits, and because it's the outcome, the outcomes that people are interested in. I think that within farming, there's a slight change here. And so I don't disagree with sharing benefits, of course, really important. But our farming audience is a bit different. Yes, they buy the benefits, but they like to understand how things work too. Farmers are inquisitive. They are nosy buggers. So whilst we actually do want to share the benefits, we're going to have to probably share how we get to those benefits as well. The other thing is, farmers like to know what other farmers are up to. What's more powerful, telling a farmer that using GPS will improve accuracy of fertilizer application, or something like, last year I went down to see Fred, your neighbor down the road, and he was grumbling about the cost of fertilizer. He told me his annual fertilizer bill's like £30,000. And of course, when he's spreading, he grows a little bit of wheat, and when he's spreading fertilizer on the wheat, that's fine. He's using tram lines, but on the grass, he's pretty much guessing. And so, I asked him if he'd like to measure the gap between his wheelings, and his spread is set to 24 meters. And what we found, he was typically driving at 22 meters, and often not in a straight line. A back of fag packet calculation suggested he could easily he could save he could be wasting 8% of his fertilizer, but by driving straight at the right spacings, that's like £2,500 saving. On top of that, 8% less time, 8% less fuel, 8% less wear and tear. So he decided to install his auto-steer GPS, and then found that when he was doing other field work like mowing and he would use the full width of the mower every time, and he could spend a lot longer day working as well because it was less time. Would you like to know more about auto-steer GPS? So telling the story, creating that case study about the problems you solve is what farmers really like to hear, and that's what they buy into. And they generally don't make instant decisions. They make considered decisions. A lot of sales training, some of you, I guess, might have been through that sort of process. It's about closing the deal, but you try and close too early, you piss people off, and that's what farmers are like. So I mean, hopefully not patronizing marketeers on the event. We do use there is a model for creating and crafting your messages. And like I say, this is fairly well known, so not inventing anything new here. And we use the acronym AIDA. That's AIDA. So the first thing we need to do is catch people's attention. We actually need to get our audience to stop and take a look. Because we haven't got their attention, we can't go any further. The next one is the I, which is interest. What's in it for them? What is your point? This is the educational bit. How do we actually, how is it going to work for them? What's it going to do for them? And then we've got the D is for desire. So why should they care? How will it make them feel? And as we've already talked about, if we can make them feel something, that's far more powerful than just simply saying or doing. And then lastly, the A, action. What action do they have to take to make it happen? We usually refer to this as a call to action. But when you're crafting your messages, keep AIDA in mind. So, going back to my little story about the GPS, firstly, trying to get attention through talking about your mate Fred down the road and his annual bill's £30,000. Then we've got the interest bit about actually how it's doing, and he's not driving to, actually we're pointing out the pain points. The interest is, he's not driving accurately. The desire is actually how much he can save, £2,400. And then, of course, at the end of it saying, would you like to try it? So use AIDA as a way to craft your messages. And then we need to get creative. Now, I think this is often overlooked in the agri sector. Creativity. We're agri innovators. We're disruptors. So bland and safe messaging is unlikely to change anything. Should we not dare to be bold, dare to be different? Our messaging needs to be inspiring, educational, and entertaining. And I suppose I wanted to highlight some work that a chap called Sandy Kirkpatrick's done recently. We've got Cereal's event next week in Hertfordshire. It's an annual event, big arable event, and he's actually put together some great videos for the event. Ali McIntyre, the show director, we were talking a little while back, and she said their socials were so staid. It was just like, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. So actually, she engaged Sandy to get involved, and apparently her brief was, "Don't get me sued," which is quite a sort of open brief. But anyway, if you look up Sandy Kirkpatrick or Cereal's event on LinkedIn or Twitter, check out some of his videos. They are very entertaining. But he shared with me that when he started this campaign, he approached quite a few of the corporate type exhibitors, and they said, no, it's too risky. It's almost like safe corporate sort of stale stuff. They really couldn't see the self-deprecating proposal working for them. But fortunately, he was able to persuade Fendt, a great brand, who actually came out in the first video, and they looked absolutely great because they weren't actually taking them too seriously. And to me, it really would resonate with farmers. So yeah, worth checking him out, learning from what Sandy does. He's a very amusing Scottish chap, and he dares to be different. So sort of wrapping this up a bit, we must always remember that farming is a business, and the potential of agri-tech to transform agriculture is immense. But its success hinges on, a holistic approach that prioritizes the needs of farmers. We need to get our messaging right, because if we don't, they're not going to learn more about what we can do to help them, these agri-tech solutions. So our message needs to be right, and it needs to be in the right place. And that way we can massively impact farming by improving adoption rates of the right technology to improve farming efficiency, which ultimately leads to more sustainable and profitable farming practices that benefit not just farmers, but the world as a whole. And, we have got a job to feed the world. So if it's of help to you, I'm really happy to have do a complimentary audit call to look at where your messaging is, or actually any other facet of marketing. So actually what we'll do is, in the chat box, I think Chi will put a link to my Calendly thing. So if you click on that, you can find a space in my diary, and be very happy to have a more of a conversation with you. So ultimately, you know, as suppliers to the most important industry in the world, farming, we have a responsibility to really understand farmers and provide them with the workable solutions to help them produce food and run their profitable businesses. So look, really, that sort of brought me to the end of my content. But you know, what I'd like to try and do now is encourage a conversation around it. And Daniel Evans, so just to differentiate here, you know, you talked about your struggle in a crowded place. You firstly, was there anything there that sort of that resonated with you? Is there anything else that anybody in the room might be able to help you with?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed that. I've made thousands and thousands of scribbles, particularly your little quotes and snippets here and there. I also, the bit that I like most is the part about the right message in the wrong place, and the wrong message in the right place. I thought that was very, very interesting. I suppose the difficulty that I face is the agricultural industry is relatively set in its ways with certain things. Certain things are done certain ways, and that's that. The difficulty I have is sort of explaining and getting the message across that it doesn't have to be like that anymore. There are benefits to not, for the benefit of the room, finance. Farmers go to their bank. That's how it's been forever. Using a broker, you've got access to 50 banks, you know, if you're looking to borrow money. So the bit that I'll take away most, I think, is the dare to be different. You know, we need to not try to be like the existing process if we're sort of saying that that's no good. You know, so yeah, I particularly like the dare to be different. You know, the inspire, be a little bit disruptive. Yeah, I'll really take that away with me. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Daniel. And I mean, Peter, you're in the communications business. Anything else you can add for Daniel's benefit?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's this, and it sort of echoes a bit what Daniel was saying about the conservatism, the people are reserved, people are reluctant to take on new ideas, you know. So it's, I mean, that's what you expect in a way from a farming community, but it's also how do you best reach them, you know, with new ideas. So that's the challenge I see, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, other Daniel, have anything there resonate? Any challenges that you have?
I've put in the Calendly link. I'd love to have a conversation with you. It's something that that I'm basically struggling with myself, but I need to go out now to the market to actually get some clients. So because we've been sort of mostly in R&D for the past 2 or 3 years, so we need to push ourselves now mostly.
Yeah, and so actually, I mean, Daniel, this was actually part of my motivation for starting the Agri-Tech Marketing Mastermind. And you know, I love the whole sector, but we see a lot of great ideas, and you know, a lot of research and development, but actually the commercial application of it, and that often is the sticking point. And so that was the whole concept. And like I say, this is not about me. This is about everybody who's got this interest. What can we do to actually help speed along the adoption of this innovation, which can make such a big difference? And I'm sure you passionately believe in what you do. How do we transfer that passion into actually adoption and investment from customers into doing it?
Yeah, it's important that we plant more wildflowers. I'm joking.
Oh, right. You said you were Dutch, didn't you?
No, I'm Polish actually.
Oh, Polish. Sorry,
Yeah.
it was Ferry who's Dutch. Sorry.
No, but it's basically, you know, we're kind of, you know, in a point where the trend is there because we're sort of fitting into the regenerative agriculture model. But what we do is still sort of relatively people are quite cautious about this. So
Yeah.
having good messaging, I think, is important for us. So I don't know exactly, you know, where to start properly, because if I start writing ideas and whatnot, I just get bogged down. So I'll need some guidance.
Yeah. So I can't drag in Phil from Ecostim because he's got connection issues. But Ferry, are you still there?
I am, yes. Thank you for for passing with me. First of all, I think we all have a common challenge, which is the attention and trust. For me, those are two key words: attention, because you're bombarded with all sorts of information. So my key challenge and perhaps question is, what are the sources of truth? Is that for farmers along the different personas? Is that trade shows? Is that the the farmer down the road whom I've known? So where would they go? Because I feel that as individual companies, we won't be able to get through, or the cost of doing that is just prohibitive. So that's really a question for the group, I guess.
Yeah, okay. I have anybody want to sort of comment first? I don't know, Ferry, by some quirk of coincidence, our next agri-tech marketing mastermind is called Building Trust, not Hype. Relationship-driven sales strategies for agri-tech. So I don't know how we managed to. Maybe the universe spoke there, but trust is so critical, isn't it? We've got. It takes time, and I suppose trust is your brand as well, isn't it? Your brand epitomizes what you stand for, and it takes time to build, especially in this industry. They are so cynical sometimes. To actually get them to change, to make that change from what they've always done. And Daniel, you were talking about this, Daniel Evans, going to the traditional, their bank for support. My experience of banks is banks will do what's right for them, not what's right for their customers. So actually there's a great opportunity there to disrupt if you can get that message over and trust. But yeah, it's about consistency as well, isn't it? How you do anything is how you do everything. I mean, has anybody else any thoughts about trust? Ben, you switched on your camera. Thanks very much. How is this impacting you?
Yeah, no, well, I was going to make a point on that point of trust, because I sort of, over my experience, the thing that is most effective, and to Ferry's question about where farmers go to find out about stuff, is what I've tended to see is that's about word of mouth. And if you can get word of mouth marketing working, then it's fantastically valuable. And the challenge for us as a startup is how do we build that? Because we've got a very small number of clients to begin with, and of course, so that means you've not got many people to sing your praises. So it's kind of getting over that, and it's a bit like the technology adoption curve, but in a completely different way. So I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but you know what I mean. We're starting narrow, but actually, it's how do we get people talking about what we're doing. And yeah, I think as part of that, I would also just echo what Eamon said on the chat, which is the fact that I think he's completely right about giving away knowledge and information. I think that is important. And to your point about farmers being good at good bullshit detectors, I would 100% agree with that. If you turn up to a farmer and you don't really, they'll rumble you pretty quick. So you've got to demonstrate that, because if they recognize that you understand what they're saying, or what they live and how they live, then I think then you can start having a conversation. Whereas if they think you're some guy from London who's turned up with a bright idea, then it's going to be a struggle. But our big challenge is how do we sort of spread the message a bit more widely. And I'm never quite sure. Exactly the same thing as Ferry. I'm never sure what the right channel is. And as you say, Daniel, right message, wrong channel. And yeah, maybe there's lots of channels. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, there are, obviously, but yeah.
I mean, we talk about 7 points of contact. I think it used to be 3 points of contact years ago. It's just an analogy, really. But one connection makes no difference whatsoever to anybody. So if you've got 7 points of contact's the goal, then should they be through different channels? And they probably should. There's also an argument surely about if we're doing high tech products or solutions, sorry, I should say, it's likely we'll find farmers motivated by tech on tech. You know, so whilst I mean, shows are great, we all love a good show, but actually, you know, shows reinforced with sort of digital channels can be a really powerful combination. Eamon, who's struggling with a connection, has put in the chat saying he agrees with the point of stories, that they can be really powerful. And again, that's stories of what other farmers have been up to, so that, you know, you're trying to create your own word of mouth, aren't you? Ben, you mentioned word of mouth. You know, let's actually see that as a channel and make it work for ourselves. Also, be prepared to give away some of your knowledge and information to help build a relationship. Don't expect to get an email address or a phone number without providing something first. There's always an exchange of value, hasn't there? And I think it's up to us to sort of offer the first bit of value, and the exchange then is the phone number or whatever it might be. There's something I've always sort of believed in about knowledge and information. However much you share knowledge and information with somebody, it doesn't mean they can implement it. So actually, I'm sort of really quite open about sharing what I know without restriction, because even if I talk about it, if they go and use it, you know, I'm not that worried. But the chances are they actually won't be able to, they won't go and do it. So it's still great positioning. Look, it's 10:44. I promised to be finished at 10:45. So look, thank you so much for all your contributions. And hopefully, you know, you'll come again. The next Agri Tech Marketing Mastermind is 20th of June at 10 a.m. Building trust, not hype. Hope you'll be there, Ben, and Daniel. So all about relationship-driven sales strategies for agri-tech. Or please, if you want, book a one-to-one call with me using the calendar link in the chat box. We can have a deeper conversation about your situation. Just explore ideas. No obligation, but you know, you never know. Big results often start with a little conversation. And look, thank you for joining in the Agri-Tech Marketing Mastermind Zoom. Like I say, I'll hang around for a short while if you've got any further questions. Otherwise, it is 10:45. It's time for me to say goodbye. Remember, hope is not a strategy. Goodbye.